Welcome to Lover Scholar, please subscribe. My rival and I are the star surgeons at St. Grace Hospital, him at the neurology department and I at cardiology. Publicly we couldn't stand each other, but at home he is my puppy borderline obsessive husband who can't stand touching anyone but me. At St. Grace Hospital, tensions ran as high as the stakes. Dr. Ryan Clark, the neurosurgeon with a reputation for icy precision, and I, Dr. Emily Morgan, cardiologist extraordinaire, were the storm that brewed daily in the surgical wing. It was no secret we couldn't stand each other. Our names were whispered in gossip-filled corners, and every department meeting became a battleground. That morning, as I walked into the surgical lounge, Dr. Clark was already there, leaning against the counter, arms crossed. "Late again, Dr. Morgan," he said, voice flat but dripping with disdain. I smirked, pulling off my white coat. Better late than arrogant. Maybe if you listened more and talked less, you wouldn't jeopardize your cases. The nurses exchanged wide eyes. The air grew thick with tension. His jaw clenched. At least my patients don't have heart attacks because of rookie mistakes. Rookie? I laughed, arching an eyebrow. You've been here 10 years, and you still can't keep your hands steady during microneurosurgery. His eyes narrowed dangerously. Keep pushing, Dr. Morgan. I'm not the one who botched the Peterson case last week. Botched? I shot back. Maybe if you'd coordinated better during that multi-department emergency, your patient wouldn't have ended up in my ICU. The head nurse cleared her throat awkwardly, and Dr. Clark turned on his heel, storming out with a cold glare. This was how it always went, verbal duels disguised as professional critiques. The hospital was a battlefield, and we wore our armor well. Every interaction with Dr. Clark was a calculated exchange, each word measured and formal. No first names, no casual smiles, just the cold precision of two experts who knew exactly what was at stake. Dr. Clark was notoriously popular among the female staff at St. Grace. Flirtations and subtle glances followed him through every corridor. But if anyone was brave enough to push boundaries, it was Nurse Lily Bennett, loud, shameless, and dangerously close. That afternoon, as I entered the operating room prepping for a high-risk procedure, a delicate cardiac repair tangled with a neurological complication, Dr. Clark was already there, reviewing the patient's imaging. Lily lingered beside him, fingers brushing his arm with an overfamiliar casualness. "Dr. Morgan," Dr. Clark said without looking up, his tone crisp and detached, "the latest MRI indicates increased pressure in the temporal lobe. We must coordinate the timing carefully to avoid ischemic injury." I nodded, focusing on the monitors. Agreed. The heart can't sustain prolonged hypotension without risking cerebral hypoxia. I recommend we keep the bypass duration under 60 minutes. Lily's voice dropped to a silky whisper, deliberately loud enough for me. "You work so hard, Dr. Clark. You deserve a break, maybe dinner? Or something more fun than hospital charts." He shrugged off her touch like a breeze, eyes still locked on the scans. "Not now, Nurse Bennett." Undeterred, she slid a hand around his waist beneath the sterile gown, pressing against him, her tone mocking. "Maybe later, then." I clenched my fists behind my back but kept my voice steady. "Nurse Bennett, this is a professional environment. Please respect that." She flashed a venomous smile. "Oh, I'm just trying to keep things interesting around here. You could lighten up, Dr. Morgan. Maybe loosen that stiff cardiologist attitude." I stepped closer, voice sharp. "I suggest you keep your hands to yourself before this goes beyond professional." Ryan finally glanced at me, eyes cool and unreadable. "We don't have time for distractions." Lily's smirk deepened as she straightened. "Of course. Can't let the cardiologist ruin the fun, right?" The tension in the room thickened, and the nurses nearby exchanged uncomfortable glances. Later, in the break room, Lily cornered me again, her voice low and venomous. "You know, you don't have to be so uptight all the time. Maybe if you smiled more, Dr. Clark wouldn't be so detached around you." I met her cold gaze. "I'm here to save lives, not play games." She leaned in, eyes glittering dangerously. Careful, Emily. The higher you climb, the harder the fall. Just then, Ryan entered. Lily's eyes flicked to him, calculating. Everything all right? His voice was calm, but the protective edge beneath was clear. She laughed, fluttering her eyelashes. Perfectly fine, Dr. Clark. Just trying to make sure our dear cardiologist here knows how to have a little fun. He ignored the jab, turning to me. Let's get back to work. After Dr. Clark's reprimand, we finished the rest of the work in silence. The moment I crossed the threshold into our apartment, the cold armor I wore at the hospital fell away completely. Here, Ryan was nothing like the stoic, untouchable neurosurgeon I faced every day. Here, he was warm, playful, and utterly mine. He caught my hand before I could even set my bag down, pulling me toward the sofa with a grin that made my heart skip. Long day, my fierce heart? He teased, voice low and playful. I smirked, leaning into his touch. You're insufferable with those pet names. His eyes sparkled with mischief as he dropped to one knee, gently peeling off my shoes like I was a queen. Only because you love them, and because I've been so good at holding myself back today. I raised an eyebrow. Oh? And what does being good earn you? He looked up at me with that boyish, pleading expression that always made my chest tighten, all dimples, perfect jawline, and muscles rippling under his shirt. Maybe a reward? Something, a little more fun than a simple kiss? Heat crept up my neck. The way he said it, like a cheeky puppy begging for a treat, was utterly disarming. You want to be rewarded for not teasing me at work? Exactly. His grin turned cocky as he slid a hand up my calf, fingers trailing like a promise. All those times I had to play cold and professional, it's exhausting. I need to make up for it. In every way. I laughed, leaning down to press a soft kiss to his strong, chiseled jaw, the line between mischief and desire burning in his eyes. You're insufferable. But you love it, he whispered, tugging me closer until I was perched on his lap. His hands framed my face as he kissed me deeply, like he was drinking me in, all hungry, tender, and utterly devoted. I ran my fingers through his thick hair, marveling at how stunning he was, broad-shouldered, sculpted like a model, with that fierce intensity beneath every touch. My heart swelled with love, desire, and the thrilling knowledge that this man who sparred with me daily in the hospital was mine, completely and utterly mine. It never failed to amaze me how Ryan Clark, the hospital's untouchable neurosurgeon with a voice like a scalpel and eyes sharp enough to silence a room, would shed that polished coldness the moment we stepped through our front door. The transformation was almost theatrical. Gone was Dr. Clark, revered and feared, in his place was my husband, playful, soft, needy in ways no one would believe. He'd drop to his knees to untie my shoes like a knight with a foot fetish, nuzzle his face into my stomach like a man starved for warmth, and ask in that gravelly voice if I missed him, even if we'd spent the whole day in adjacent ORs. At the hospital, he addressed me as Dr. Morgan with an air of indifference. At home, it was baby, angel, gorgeous wife of mine, and occasionally, brat when I teased him too much. The contrast wasn't just drastic, it was addictive. And it was all mine. When he pulled back, breathless, his eyes shone with something softer, deeper. I hate pretending at work. Hiding how much I want you. How much I need you. I smiled against his lips. Then don't. His grin was triumphant, like he'd won the best prize. That's my good girl. We sank into each other, a perfect, quiet storm of love, desire, and devotion, the sanctuary from a world that demanded we be rivals, but couldn't touch the bond we shared behind closed doors. The sterile scent of antiseptic filled the operating theater, but the real heat was in the air between us. Dr. Morgan, Ryan's voice cut through the hum of machines, clipped and precise as always. We need to synchronize our procedures perfectly. Timing is critical. I met his sharp gaze without flinching. I'm aware, Dr. Clark. Let's keep this patient alive, not argue over egos. His jaw tightened. Egos don't kill patients. Mistakes do. The tension was a living thing, crackling between us like electricity. Just then, Nurse Lily Bennett breezed in, her eyes glinting with mischief. She leaned against the instrument table, voice syrupy. "Oh, Dr. Clark, you always look so focused. Such a shame Dr. Morgan doesn't appreciate your talents." Ryan's gaze flickered to her briefly, irritation masked beneath his calm exterior. "Nurse Bennett, please keep to your duties." She smirked, moving closer, deliberately brushing her fingers over his arm as if testing his patience. "I'm just trying to brighten the room. Isn't that what you want?" I shot her a warning look. "We don't have time for distractions." Her laugh was soft but sharp. "Careful, Dr. Morgan. You might just find yourself outshined." Ryan's eyes locked on mine. "Ignore her." Minutes passed with surgical precision, each of us focused on the patient, but the undercurrent of competition never faded. The slightest misstep was magnified. Every word exchanged was loaded with double meaning. At one point, as I adjusted the heart-lung machine, Ryan's voice dropped low beside me. "You're the only one who keeps me on edge like this." I glanced at him, the corner of my mouth twitching. "Flattery won't save you." His smirk was infuriatingly genuine. "Good. I want you sharp." Then, as the procedure neared its most critical phase, Lily's voice cut through the sterile air again, this time, a whispered insult just loud enough for me to hear. "Careful, cardiologist. Don't let your heart get in the way of the job." I caught Ryan's eyes, and without a word, he stepped closer, blocking her out like a shield. Later, when the patient was stable and the tension momentarily eased, Ryan's hand brushed mine briefly, a silent reminder that beneath the rivalry, the war, the games, we were in this together. But in this place, at this time, it was still us against the world. By the end of the week, I stopped leaving anything in my locker. My white coat had been slashed at the sleeve, clean cuts with surgical scissors, deliberately folded back in place. My notes were missing, rewritten, replaced with falsified information. My rounds were rerouted behind my back. But nothing compared to today. It started small. A routine heart failure patient suddenly decompensated after being administered a medication I hadn't prescribed. "Dr. Morgan," the pharmacist said coldly, "did you sign off on 200 milligrams of amiodarone for Mr. Bell?" My blood went cold. That dose would kill him. I ordered 75. "Well, your initials are on the chart." They weren't. I knew they weren't. I stormed to the records room. Pages had been removed and reinserted. My handwriting was forged. Even my digital signature was used. I stood in the dark corridor, fists shaking, staring at the trail of sabotage someone had laid for me. This was no longer a petty workplace drama. Someone was trying to end my career, or worse. And it got worse. I went in 2 or 2 to prepare for surgery, only to find my sterile gloves had been replaced, thin latex, easily torn, a clear violation. The scrub nurse blinked innocently. "You didn't request a double layer, doctor? In the middle of a heart transplant?" I snapped off the gloves and left the OR without a word. I didn't trust myself not to scream. By noon, my phone had blown up. Untraceable number sending texts like, "You deserve everything coming to you. Stealing someone else's man? Dirty little mistress doctor. You should be disbarred, or buried." I didn't have time to turn before someone shoved me, hard, into a stack of metal trays. My head cracked against a cabinet, and the world spun. A female voice snarled in my ear, "You think you're special? You think he's going to choose you when your license is revoked?" I tried to get up, but a knee landed between my shoulder blades. "Try showing up tomorrow. See what happens." Then she was gone. I stumbled out 15 minutes later with blood trickling down my temple. And Ryan lost his mind. He found me slumped in the break room, hair matted with blood, coat torn. His voice broke when he said my name. "Who did this?" he whispered. My lips were trembling. "I don't know. I think it was her." "Lily?" I nodded. Ryan's entire body tensed. He picked me up like I weighed nothing, eyes blazing with fury. Every staff member who dared to look at me too long shrank back as he marched me through the halls to the private on-call room and locked the door. I told them, he said, crouching beside me, gently wiping the blood away. I told them if they touched you. They're going to destroy me, I whispered. They're trying. And no one's stopping them. I will. He leaned in, resting his forehead against mine. I swear to God, Emily, they're going to regret ever breathing your name. Then, his voice dropped, soft and shaky. I've held back so long. Pretended to hate you. Pretended you weren't mine. He cupped my face. Give me one reason not to go full beast mode right now. Just one. I want to finish this on my terms. He kissed my temple. Then my jaw. Then my lips, slow, reverent, desperate. Let me take care of you, he murmured. Let me hold you tonight like I'm allowed to. His fingers brushed under the hem of my blouse, warm and grounding. I've been good, haven't I? Haven't touched you at work. Haven't kissed you in the elevators, even though I wanted to devour you. Doesn't my good girl owe me a reward? His smile was playful. His voice wasn't. I kissed him hard, fierce, and aching. Later. But first, I want Lily's badge on a silver platter. He grinned, wolfish, dark, and utterly devoted. Then let's burn this place to the ground. The day started with blood. Not from a patient. From me. I opened my locker in the resident prep room and a scalpel fell out, slicing across my palm. It wasn't wrapped. It wasn't stored. It was placed there, blade up, just waiting. The room spun slightly as blood trickled down my fingers. Oh my God, one of the interns gasped, running for gauze. Another whispered, that's the second time this week. First her coffee. Now this. A week ago, someone had replaced my post-op coffee with laxative-laced tea. I hadn't drunk it, but the message was clear. You're not wanted here. And all of it started the moment Lily Bennett began spreading her lies. She's crazy, Lily had whispered to the younger nurses. Jealous. Obsessed. She even followed me home one night. Poor Dr. Clark, I feel so bad for him. It didn't matter that I'd filed reports, saved messages, even caught her switching medication labels in the pharmacy hallway. She cried prettier. And she was bold. When the rumors hit a boiling point, Lily didn't just let them circulate, she poured gasoline on them. Yes, I'm dating Dr. Clark, she told the ICU staff in the lounge. It's been difficult, especially with her still working here. He feels so guilty, but he's trying to do the right thing. By lunch, I was the scandal of the hospital. The jealous ex. The unstable mistress. The liar who used sex to secure a surgical post. She had spun a different lie with each department, and disproving had become a Herculean task. It was weighing on me, and all my attempts to stand up for myself just looked damage control. That afternoon, I was cornered again, this time in the records room. The lights were off. I barely registered the sound before a heavy hand shoved me backward, into the wall, a cabinet catching my spine. A male figure loomed, voice low and sneering. Maybe if you weren't so high and mighty, you wouldn't have got left. Maybe you should have let Dr. Clark be happy. He looked at me with the type of hatred that would excuse whatever he planned to do with. I kicked out, hard. My heel caught something. A groan, a stumble. I ran. Bolted down the hallway, blood soaking my coat, breathing ragged. By the time security responded, whoever it was had vanished. The only witness? Lily, appearing miraculously seconds later. Oh no, she gasped, hands fluttering to her chest. Again, Dr. Morgan? You really must be more careful. You can't keep causing these little scenes. That's when I snapped. You think this is a scene? I hissed. I could press charges today. She smiled sweetly. Oh, honey. You could. But who would believe you? Did this bitch really think I was so toothless that I wouldn't fight back no matter what? By 4 p.m., I was called into an HR hearing. So was Ryan. His face was a painting of barely concealed violence. The head of HR, Mrs. Bradford, didn't even bother hiding her skepticism this time. Dr. Morgan, you've filed multiple complaints over the past month. Frankly, they're starting to seem retaliatory. Ryan was silent, his hands clasped in front of him, nails digging into flesh, but I could feel it. The barely contained fury pulsing under his calm. Bradford cleared her throat. In contrast, Nurse Bennett has only responded to what she calls harassment and intimidation. She claims that you've made baseless accusations out of jealousy, given her relationship with Dr. Clark. Relationship? I said coolly. Do you mean the one she made up? The one Dr. Clark has denied repeatedly? Lily stepped into the room then, eyes red, sleeves pushed up to show a perfectly placed scratch along her forearm. She attacked me, Lily whispered, trembling. I tried to calm her down, but she was screaming. I just wanted to protect Dr. Clark, he's my partner, and I love him. I'm her husband, Ryan said. Silence. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't look angry. But the room shifted. Excuse me? Bradford blinked. I said, I'm her husband. Ryan looked directly at Lily. We've been married for 3 years. And for those 3 years, I've endured every inappropriate comment, every time you tried to touch me, every time you left your phone number in my locker. My silence ends now. Lily's face went white. Dr. Clark, Ryan, she tried, stepping forward. He took one step back, face contorted in disgust. Don't call me that. Don't ever call me that again. She's manipulating you. Lily shrieked. She's ruining your reputation. She's the reason no one likes you anymore. Everyone here, he said coldly, knows you're lying. They're just too spineless to say it. He opened a file. Inside were photos of the scalpel in my locker, altered medication records, a camera timestamp from outside the records room showing a man entering minutes before me, and Lily herself pacing outside just after. If St. Grace refuses to protect my wife, Ryan said, turning to Bradford, I'll press charges. I'll sue this hospital. And I'll drag every name in this file down with her. Lily lunged at me, actually lunged, nails outstretched like she was going to claw my face. Ryan caught her midair and shoved her back like she weighed nothing. Guards arrived seconds later, dragging her away as she kicked and screamed. I'll ruin you. Both of you. You'll regret this. We stood silently until the screaming stopped. Mrs. Bradford cleared her throat shakily. We'll place her on indefinite suspension, pending a full investigation. You'll also issue a statement clearing my wife's name, Ryan said. Immediately. Bradford nodded. Later that night, I collapsed on our couch, emotionally spent. Ryan kneeled beside me, carefully helping me pull off my bloodied shoes, his hands trembling slightly. I couldn't take it anymore and threw myself at him crying. You were perfect today, I murmured. His eyes met mine, soft and fierce. I held back so well, he whispered, leaning in to nuzzle against my neck. I deserve a reward. A reward? I teased, fingers curling in his thick hair. Just 1 hour, he whispered against my skin. Where I don't have to act like I don't love you. Where I can touch you like I'm yours. You've always been mine, I said, pulling him in for a kiss. He picked me up effortlessly, carrying me to the bedroom like I weighed nothing. That night, he kissed every scar, every bruise, every fear away. And in the morning? The hospital would never see us coming. If I thought things would calm down after the HR meeting, I was wrong. Lily Simmons might have been suspended, but she didn't vanish. No, she lingered, like a rot that couldn't be cut out. And worse, she wasn't staying silent. Anonymous messages started flooding my work phone. You think you won, but you'll never be safe. He kissed me first. I know what Ryan likes. I know how he touches. I blocked the numbers. I changed phones. It didn't matter. A day later, a letter appeared in my locker, handwritten, slanted, and manic. He's mine. You stole him. I saw the way he looked at me. He was going to leave you. You trapped him. I won't let you ruin him. The word ruin was underlined 7 times. Ryan wanted to go to the police immediately. But I knew Lily better now. She wasn't just delusional. She was calculated. Every move was made to drive a wedge between us, and she was getting more desperate with each failed attempt. We tried to stay ahead of her. Security was notified. My locker was moved. Cameras were reviewed. But Lily had always been clever at slipping through cracks. Then one morning, I entered the OR and froze. Surgical prep had already begun. The nurses were waiting, chart in hand. And standing at the head of the room, scrubbed in, mask on, was Lily. I don't know how she got in. Her badge had been deactivated. But there she was, gown tied, gloves snapped on, eyes fixed on mine with eerie calm. I'll be assisting today, she said brightly. Just like old times. Before I could react, a hand was on her shoulder, Ryan's. He yanked her back, his face thunderous. You touch her patient, he growled, and I will personally make sure you never touch another scalpel again. Lily didn't flinch. Why, Ryan, she asked sweetly. Are you afraid I'll show you what a real surgeon looks like? Security arrived less than a minute later. Lily didn't resist. She let them drag her out, but not before leaning close to whisper something in my ear. You're not enough for him. That night, our apartment was silent. I sat in the kitchen, staring at the letter she'd slipped under our door. Ryan was pacing, furious, restless. She's dangerous, he muttered. She's obsessed. She's unhinged, I corrected. And she's not going to stop. He knelt in front of me suddenly, grabbing my hands, pressing kisses to each finger like a vow. Let me take you away, he murmured. Even just for a weekend. Somewhere no one knows our names. Just you, me, and silence. And what about the lawsuit? I asked quietly. The board review? My patients? He kissed my wrist. You come first. You've always come first. I exhaled slowly, brushing his dark hair back from his face. God, he was beautiful. Like a storm bottled inside the body of a Calvin Klein model, broad chest, narrow waist, perfect bone structure, eyes that only ever softened for me. You're going to make me fall in love with you again, I whispered. His grin was boyish. Too late. You're already crazy about me. But if you want to prove it, he leaned in closer, lips grazing my ear. You'll let me carry you to bed and remind you I'm yours. He did exactly that. And the next morning? Another note appeared on the windshield of my car. I saw you kiss him. I hope he dies. This wasn't an obsession anymore. It was war. Security was tighter. My schedule was protected. Ryan made sure I was escorted between departments, even to the vending machines. But Lily had always been good at slipping through cracks. It happened during a late-night emergency surgery. A cardiac rupture, one of those rare, messy cases that didn't care about your emotional bandwidth or personal stalkers. I scrubbed in. Focused. Ryan was assisting, not standard, but no one dared question it after the last incident. 2 hours in, things were stabilizing. The bleeding had slowed. The rhythm returned. I exhaled through my mask. Then the lights went out. Just for a second. A flicker. The generator kicked in, but when I looked up, the anesthesiologist wasn't who I expected. Lily. She stood behind the machine, surgical cap low, mouth twisted into a parody of a smile. No one ever notices the quiet ones, she whispered. Ryan moved before anyone else. He lunged across the table, slamming the code blue button as he vaulted past equipment, barreling into her. The force knocked over in four stand. Instruments clattered. Security came fast. The ore descended into chaos. She had a syringe. Full. Later, we'd find out it was potassium chloride. Enough to stop a heart in seconds. She hadn't planned to kill me. Not directly. She'd planned to botch the sedation. Let me kill the patient by accident. Frame me. Ruin me. In the aftermath, statements, camera footage, restraining orders, I sat alone in the locker room, the white coat heavy on my shoulders. Ryan appeared a few minutes later, shirt blood-smeared from the scuffle, 2 buttons missing, jaw clenched like he was holding the world back with his teeth. He dropped to his knees in front of me. Just like that night after her letter. But this time, his hands were shaking. "You almost died," he said, voice low and broken. "But I didn't," I whispered, taking his face in my hands. "Because you were there." He leaned into my touch like a dog starved of affection. "I don't want to pretend anymore," he said suddenly. "Not one more day. Not one more fake insult. I want them to know I'm yours. I want to kiss you in the break room and show them your ring. Ryan." "No," he said, eyes dark and wild with fear and fury and love. "You almost died, Emily. And I didn't even get to call you my wife." I touched his cheek. He kissed my palm. Then my wrist. Then the inside of my arm like it was sacred. "If I was a little braver," he murmured, "I'd take you home right now and never let you leave again." I swallowed hard. "Then be brave," I said. And he was. That night, Ryan didn't just carry me to bed. He worshipped me. Body and soul. The next morning, every staff member at St. Grace walked into the cafeteria to find a marriage announcement taped to the staff board, an ultrasound-style image of a ring on Ryan's finger, labeled, "Property of Dr. Emily Morgan Clark. Do not touch." Ryan's idea. Of course. And no one dared. A week later, everything came to a head. The courtroom was cold, sterile, a mirror of the hospital, but with none of the healing. Lily Simmons sat across from me, unrepentant. She was dressed in cream flowy clothes, looking every bit the innocent victim she claimed to be. Her expression wasn't madness anymore. It was worse, self-righteousness. Like she truly believed she had been wronged. Her attorney rattled off delusional defenses. She was under stress. She feared for her own career. She never intended physical harm. Ryan's jaw ticked beside me. He sat as my witness, but his hand never left mine beneath the table. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't need to. I listed every incident, every threat, every illegal entry. The forged ID. The stolen syringe. The anonymous notes. I finished with a photo. Lily, dressed in scrubs, glove half on, syringe visible in hand. Caught mid-motion before Ryan tackled her. The courtroom went still. She was found guilty, several counts. Medical license permanently revoked. A sentence that included psychological evaluation, court-mandated treatment, and a restraining order so wide it practically spanned the state. But I wasn't relieved. Not until I looked to my right and saw Ryan's eyes, glistening with unshed tears. He pulled me in the moment we left the courtroom. Right there on the courthouse steps, under flashing cameras and whispering reporters, he cupped my face like I was something fragile, and kissed me. Not carefully. Not like a secret. Like a man who had waited far too long to show the world who he loved. 2 weeks later. The gossip at St. Grace had reached an all-time high. Dr. Emily Morgan and Dr. Ryan Clark were married. Married. Secretly. 4 years. Every nurse, intern, and even a few stunned residents passed by us like they'd seen unicorns. But Ryan didn't care anymore. He followed me into break rooms with 2 coffees and called me wife loud enough for heads to turn. He pulled me close when I came off night shift, whispering, "Reward, please, with his lips at my ear. And when Dr. Patel caught us kissing in the empty radiology wing? Ryan just said, "She's my wife. File a complaint." That day, the entire surgical wing hosted a surprise celebration during rounds. Someone brought cupcakes. Some resident else a banner that read, "I was always a Believer, my ship lives." Even the chief of surgery laughed. "I've known the day you almost killed each other in a trauma code." Ryan stood up, kissed the back of my hand in front of everyone, and said, "I can fake a cold front, Chief. But I can't fake not loving my wife." I smiled. "Don't worry. He's very professional," until 5:01 p.m. The staff roared. And that night, when we got home, Ryan practically flew to my side, undoing my shoes, massaging my calves, carrying me to the couch like his life depended on it. "You were brilliant in court," he whispered against my neck. "And you're mine. You're still mine. And you're still my lovesick puppy," I teased, tugging his tie. He grinned, boyish and gorgeous. "Only for you." He kissed me again. And again. And again. The final rumor about us at St. Grace? That we weren't just married. We were hopelessly, ridiculously, inescapably in love. And they were right. Emily Morgan POV. Long before the rumors, the sabotage, the stolen glances across the surgical wing, there was just me. A first-year med student with cheap glasses and second-hand scrubs, quietly falling in love with the most unattainable man on campus. Ryan Clark, third-year top of his class, heir to a legacy of famous neurosurgeons, and the kind of beautiful that made the air hitch in your throat. Sculpted jaw, cool gray eyes, and a stride that made the world part like it owed him reverence. Girls whispered about him like a myth, the kind of man who'd never look at someone like me. But he did. The first time I saw him, he was leaning against a vending machine outside the anatomy lab. His brows were furrowed in frustration. Apparently, the machine had eaten his card. I offered him mine without thinking. He blinked. Then smiled. "Thank you. Morgan, right?" He knew my name. It was the beginning of something I couldn't define back then, a storm, maybe, or a tide I couldn't fight. I pursued him shamelessly. Sent him coffee before morning labs. Sat beside him at every seminar, asking pointed questions just to hear his amused sighs. Most girls would have backed off from the cold, unreadable prince of the campus. I was stubborn. "I'm not scared of you, Clark." "I'm not trying to be scary," he said, once. "I'm trying not to like you." It didn't work. Behind the facade of the untouchable senior, Ryan was hopelessly soft. The moment we started dating, he fell harder than I ever imagined. Secret dinner dates turned into handwritten schedules detailing our future. He memorized my period cycle to keep snacks on hand. Researched residency placements that would keep us together. And I loved him. God, I loved him. But I wanted more, not from him, but from myself. When I got into St. Grace Hospital, the most prestigious teaching hospital in the city, I cried for hours from happiness. But I knew the whispers would come. She only got in because of Ryan Clark. So I made a deal. "I want us to act like strangers," I told him one night, when we were curled up on the floor of our crummy studio apartment. "At work, I want to be just Dr. Morgan. I need to prove I'm not just your girlfriend." His smile faltered. I cupped his face. "Just until I stand on my own. I'm not ashamed of you. I'm proud of you. But I need to be proud of myself, too." He was silent for a long time. Then, "If I agree, marry me." "What?" "You heard me. If I have to go through the agony of pretending I don't love you every single day in front of people who flirt with me like you don't exist." He leaned in, kissing me slow and reverent. "Then I want the world to know you're mine where it counts." We eloped 3 months later. No ceremony. Just signatures, shaky vows, and the promise that no matter how cold we acted under white coats, our hearts would always be tangled together. So we learned the cruel ballet of restraint. At work, we traded insults like daggers. He never called me Emily, only Dr. Morgan. I never once glanced at him too long in meetings. But every night, behind locked doors, I would find him already home, shirt unbuttoned, eyes hungry, voice a low whisper against my neck. "Tell me I did good today, sweetheart. I didn't even kiss you when you bent over the patient file." I'd laugh and push him away, but I'd always let him pull me into his lap. So yes, the world thought we were rivals. But behind every clash, every professional sneer, was a love that never cooled, only burned more fiercely, locked away behind hospital walls. Ryan Clark's POV. Ryan Clark, age 22. I wasn't supposed to be on campus that day. Technically, I'd finished my residency exams early and was just stopping by to return a book to my old anatomy professor. But fate, cruel, glorious fate, had other plans. I saw her standing outside the library, hugging a clipboard to her chest like it was armor. Her hair was tied up messily, strands falling against her cheek, and she had the biggest eyes I'd ever seen on a person who looked like she was about to either vomit or cry. She was arguing with the librarian over a lost file. Her voice cracked slightly at the end of each sentence, but she kept going. Tenacity wrapped in trembling limbs. My first thought? She's too soft for med school. My second? She's going to destroy me. I don't know what possessed me to follow her after she walked away, but I did. Not to be creepy, just to make sure she didn't actually cry. Or get hit by a bike. Or fall into the fountain. She sat down on a bench near the physiology building and stared at her schedule like it had personally offended her. I stood there, trying to remember how to speak to women who weren't research assistants or professors. That's when she looked up. Direct eye contact. Sharp. Bold. I froze. She smiled, small and unsure. "Are you staring at me because you're going to help, or because you're weird?" I blinked. Then, I laughed. Actually laughed like a dork. She stood and walked right up to me. 5'0" and already daring to challenge me. "You're that senior, aren't you?" she asked. "Ryan Clark. The neuro golden boy." I swallowed. "You know me? Everyone knows you. Half the girls in my dorm have a crush on you." I didn't ask if she was one of them. I didn't have to. She was. But unlike the others, she didn't flinch around me. She flirted. Badly. Adorably. And I did everything in my power to act like I wasn't spiraling from a smile. I tried to stay composed. Cold. Polished. But the moment she touched my arm that first week, just a casual graze, I spent the rest of the day on fire. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I found myself inventing reasons to walk by the freshman labs. When she asked me out during a study break, I choked on my tea. I told her it wasn't a good idea. That I was busy. That I wasn't looking for anything serious. Lie. 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 I thought it was a Nobel Award-winning idea. I always had time for her. And I had spent all of the previous night debating whether I wanted our wedding in spring, summer, or fall. The truth was, if I gave in, I wouldn't know how to stop. But Emily Morgan didn't give up. She flirted harder. She left sticky notes with stupid puns in my locker. She accidentally left her thermos in my seat during seminars. And one night, while walking her home after tutoring, our hands brushing in the dark, she said, "You act like you don't want me. But you look at me like I already belong to you." I stopped. Turned. And kissed her. I'd never kissed anyone like that. Not tentative. Not calculated. Just, desperate. All my walls collapsed in 1 second of contact. From that moment on, she owned me. When I asked her to marry me 3 years later, she thought I was joking. But I'd already asked for my mother's ring the week we started dating. Because from the first second I saw Emily Morgan, I knew one thing. She was going to be my beginning, my middle, and my end. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.